Peter Melton. Hi, Peter.
Hello, Ralph. Good morning.
Good morning. Peter is the author of A Conversation with Par, and we have him on here. There we go. Conversations with Par.
There it is.
Okay.
How a frustrated golfer found joy through golf.
Okay. Cool. So we're gonna start by you telling us a little bit about your background and your trajectory, and what led you to where you are now, and writing this book and everything else.
Terrific. Thanks. Thanks for this. I appreciate the opportunity to connect and to share and meet new golfing friends. And yeah, so I was born and raised near a golf course. I guess it actually started, as I say in the book, my folks decided to build their house near a golf course instead of near a lake. They were deciding on the two different lots, and they chose the golf course lot. So I ended up a plum orchard away from the fourth fairway of this local golf course. So my dad played, and so I started about 10, just doing fun golf stuff, hitting wiffle balls, putting in the living room, all that fun stuff, and then started going to the practice chipping and went out and started playing at 10 and loved it, and could play quite a bit and roam around the course looking for balls in the weeds and just say, "Bye, mom, I'm gone. I'm going to go look for balls and practice putting and just be with the golf course." And so I played a lot as a young guy. I played on the junior high team, the high school team, and then I played on a junior college team, and I got reasonably good, and I loved the game, and I loved the time I spent on the course alone and with other people, and really just sank into the game and loved it. So that's kind of the start, but the twist happened after you get pretty good. The quest to stay there can be interesting, and I quit practicing and went to college and had other interests and just only played occasionally and didn't want to practice. So of course we know what happens to your game when you do that. And so, but then I start getting frustrated, right? Early age, but it's before I was 30 for sure. I'm like frustrated golfer. It's like, wait, I know it's in there. I know I can make quite a few pars and some bogeys and shoot a nice round, but I'm not without a whole bunch of mulligans and foot wedges. And so it was starting to get frustrated. And it's like, dang, I can't, I'm pretending to shoot 92, but I had didn't count all my extra shots and whatever it took to kind of appease that scoring demon, right? That was in there that I really didn't realize was there. Yeah, so it was a wild ride, and for a lot of years, literally decades. I'm like, I can do this. I can find it. I can go practice a couple days and show up pretty good at a round, or really help out at a scramble or something. But no, I couldn't find my game, and just kept going on. And so that set it up. And then there was a key moment that started my quest for the book. Is that like I said, my dad would play a lot, but he'd come home angry. And I'm like, wait a minute, you're killing my buzz here, right? This is the American dream. You're supposed to work and then retire and play a bunch of golf and have a good time. And it didn't look like he was having a good time. And then my mom said, I want to start playing. Peter, will you teach me how to play golf? And I'm like, sure, as long as you don't get upset. And of course, the first 3 or 4 times you play, it's easy to play without getting upset. But then by the 5th or 6th time, you start having expectations and judging yourself. And she calls me up. She says, Peter, I'm starting to get upset with my golf. How do you play without being upset? And I'm like, I don't know. I'm stuck in that same frustration. And it's been years, decades, literally. I mean, this was in the 90s when mom wanted to play. So I guess it had only been 8 or 10 years maybe that I'd been a frustrated golfer at that stage. And she said, here's the key moment in my journey. I said, I don't know how to play without being frustrated, mom. And she said, well, you have to figure it out. And I'm like, oh, wow, I do have to figure it out. This is the game of my life. I mean, this is my game. I played other sports, but golf was my game. And I had gotten frustrated with it. And I'm only 30 years old at that stage, right? And I'm like,
What,
I got to
what,
figure it out. And so I remember the moment. I'm like, well, what's the problem? Why do I get frustrated? The ball doesn't go where I want it to go. And I said, huh, okay. So if the ball doesn't go where I want it to go, then clearly the problem is the ball, right? And this crazy thought, and I'll admit to have been crazy before this point, but the thought went through my mind, what if you played golf without a ball? Well, that's crazy, but maybe I'll try it. And I remember the day I tried it. I was playing in Arizona with a buddy, and it was the 18th tee of an otherwise extremely forgettable round of golf. And I'm like, I'm going to play this hole without a ball. So everything else exactly the same. Put the tee in the ground, practice swing, and I get to imagine where the ball goes. And I'm like, hey, nice drive, right? Put the driver away and you start charging down the fairway. And then it comes time to find your ball. I'm like, well, okay, there it is, right? And it's a neat little experiment. I invite your listeners to give it a try sometime. It's really interesting where your mind goes when you're not caught up in, oh my God, am I going to blow this shot? Or what about last hole when I missed that putt? Or the next hole? Or my buddy outdrove me? Or any number of a zillion thoughts that come through your mind, right? And so there I am, little 7-iron. I'm like, nice little shot up, and it's just on the fringe of the green. Okay. Go up there, go to get my chip. Chip. Yeah, I love the little 7-iron by the green. Right up next to the hole, tap in par, wrote down my four, strolled off the green, right? So I had this experience, and I started playing with the idea and sharing it a little bit here and there, but pretty much it's crazy, right? I mean, would you agree? Is that a crazy idea to play golf without a ball?
I mean, I've heard crazier things, but, but here's a question. So you played junior college golf, so you were playing at a reasonably high level, and then all of a sudden it just vanished.
Yeah, I got single digits.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
I like riding a bike.
And then I couldn't find it.
Mhm.
I thought it was like riding a bike, right? I thought, okay, I know how to do that. The swing's here. I mean, I was used to breaking 80 regularly, right? And it's like at least I could get out there and shoot 85 or something and still be happy. And I came to realize how much my golfing joy was connected to my score. And I didn't realize that because, of course, I was doing good for all those years
Oh,
in high
look at
school and
that.
junior college and a few years after. It's like, Peter's a good golfer, right? And then it's like, oh my God. But it took me, even me, someone daring to explore, took me years and years and years to figure it out. In fact, I didn't figure it out for a long time. I played with this idea of playing without a ball for a while. And then I had another key moment in the process where I told this one teaching pro, Jamie Zimron, and she blends martial arts and golf, and Ki Golf is her company, and she wrote a book, The Centered Way, of having that focus, right? Having that clarity that comes with martial arts around your golf. And I came to know her a little bit, and I told her, I said, I want to throw an idea by you. I've been playing without a ball. What do you think about that? And her and I met up and we experimented with it a little bit. And she said, there's something there, and I'll work on that. I'll try it with some of my people I was coaching. She's an LPGA teaching pro out of San Diego area. I live up in the middle of California near Monterey. And so they gave me a little boost, right? And a few years later, she said, you know who you need to talk to? This guy's making a documentary about the mental game of golf. You ought to call him. And his name is Eric Anders Lang. And he was doing this program. You know, Eric, yeah, Adventures in Golf in the ninth season or something now, an amazing show where they send him out to go see all the oddities of golf. And so he was doing this documentary. So I call him up. I said, hey, Jamie Zimron said, I should talk to you. I play golf without a ball. He says, oh, could you come to LA? I'll film you. So go to LA and he films me playing without a ball. Him and I joined this other twosome at this course called Roosevelt in LA. And at first we're playing with the ball. And then he goes, okay, now drop it on him, right? It was like the third hole. And we were going to play 9 holes with these guys. Third hole, little par 3. I get up there and I'm about to hit, and then I hit without a ball. And these guys are like, what's happening here? Like, oh, I'm doing this mental experiment. And that's why he's here with a camera, is because we're doing this mental experiment. You want to join in? And these guys, they did. And so we filmed me playing golf without a ball and the mental process that happens of how good of a shot can you give yourself? Or, here's my approach shot. Why did that go to 12 feet instead of 4 or 2 or in? right? What is my mental game? And I started realizing over the years, but in particular when it got serious because somebody was filming me and this might be in a documentary, right? I'm like, there's a lot here. What do we do in our heads? Right? They say how important the mental game is, right? 90% mental, the other 50% physical. One joke I heard about that, but we talk about how important the mental game is, but when do we ever really practice it? Well, if in my world, it's like, well, okay, here we got about to hit my tee shot. I'm like, all right, let's put that down the middle. That was about my extent of visualization, right? Or maybe, okay, slight fade. We're going to go around this dog leg or something like that. I started to realize just how much was happening in my brain and in my internal mental story while I was playing. Is when you play without a ball, even for just one hole, but if you do two or three or six or 18, your mind goes places that your golf brain has never been before. You make three or four birdies in a row and you're like, hey, my goodness, this is a beautiful day. And did you see that a little squirrel run up the tree? And I never noticed those flowers before. And you start connecting to the beauty of the game that is so easy to be blinded to when you're so focused on your score. So it really woke me up. And I'm like, I'm going to be in a documentary.
Right. Now is that up
Well,
is
the
that
document
is that documentary up on, or was that footage up on YouTube or something?
unfortunately, as the story of golf torture continues, well, we're getting closer. We're going to do it. We brought in Jason Day. He had some other people doing meditation stuff. He had a whole bunch of interviews and just wasn't quite getting done. It never got done. So year after year, for first few years, I'd stay in touch with Eric. I'm like, hey, how's it going? I'm really hoping this comes out someday. You're validating my crazy idea, and I could use the support.
Right.
And didn't happen, didn't happen, didn't happen. So finally, 2 years ago, I guess now, 2 years ago, May of 23, a buddy sends me a clip. He says, "Look, Peter, you're on Instagram on this podcast." I'm like, what? And Eric was still doing golf content over the years, just never finished the documentary. But him and his co-host Jojo were talking, and Jojo says to Eric, he says, "Hey, didn't you tell me one time you played golf with a guy who played without a ball?" He goes, "Oh yeah, I did. Man, that was years ago. We've still got that footage. We got to find it, right?" And so they go back and find the footage, and they put together a little 45-second Instagram TikTok clip that talks about this guy who played without a ball, kind of mostly jokingly, but just with just enough of, I wonder, right? And so the clip gets out there. A buddy of mine sends it to me, and I'm like, oh my God, it's alive 10 years later, right? In 2023. I'm like, how
Mhm.
crazy is this? So I called him up. I'm like, hey, Eric, it's Peter, the guy who plays without a ball. He said, oh my God, thanks for reaching out. We found the footage. You should come on the podcast. I'm like, okay. And he goes, how about Thursday? It was Monday of that week. And I'm like, okay. And so we make a plan for me to come on his podcast, and the EAL podcast, episode 284 for your listeners, about 40 minutes into the show.
Yeah.
So then I go on the show, right? And meantime, those 3 days I'm watching Instagram, which I don't ever usually go on at that stage of my life, or TikTok, but I'm watching the Instagram and it's like, hey, 12,000, 14,000, 16,000. I'm like, wow, people are okay. So I get on the call. I get on the podcast and he says, Peter, good to reconnect. How's it going? I'm like, well, I got to tell you, I'm amazed 10 years later. And now this clip, I think there's 19,000 views on Instagram. And Jojo, his co host, says, what'd you say? I said, yeah, 19,000 views on Instagram. He said, oh no, Peter, that's 19,000 likes.
Wow.
My jaw just dropped. He said, let me see, between Instagram and TikTok, you have 1.3 million views of our little 45-second clip that talked about you playing without a ball. And my God, as you might imagine, right?
Wow.
My little golf heart brain just exploded.
Right. And I mean, Eric, EAL has
Yeah.
a lot of clout, and he has a lot of followers, and he has some very good content. It's very well produced. It's professional all the way around. So, you know, the fact that you were included in there gave you the boost you needed. You know, I would say.
Amen. Exactly. That's exactly what happened. And I'm like, oh my God, 1.3 million people have seen this, and a bunch of people are liking it and sending it to their friends. I'm like, okay, right? So I have to backtrack a couple years because in the process of all of this, I started writing my book, Conversations with Par, in 2009. Got to at least to the point of frustration that said, I've got to at least try to purge this. And I had done some writing before. So writing was something that was natural for me. And so I'm like, I got to try to put this in a book, this crazy process I find myself in. Right. Like I know your story has some of this, right? It's like
Yeah.
wanting to be involved in the golf world somehow. How do I do it? Right. And
Yeah.
yeah, so how do I do this? So I start writing this book that I know playing without a ball is gonna play a part in the book, but I also knew there was so much more in there that was moving through me as a frustrated golfer for most of 3 decades, or at least 2 decades at that time. And, and so then 2013 comes this post with Eric, and then now I've got all the validation I need. I'm like, "Okay, I'm finishing this book now, right?" No, documentary docu doc hello, brain. The
Yeah.
documentary doesn't get done, it kinda lags. I start writing the book, but it's taken a long time to piece ideas together, 2013, 2015, 2017. I wanna get it done, I wanna get it done, but, boy, quite a process to piece things together and figure out how I wanted it to come together, this story of my frustration and this idea that I would actually talk to Par, right? That I was so frustrated with golf, I wanted and as the story goes, I scream out a three putt on 18 to lose a match and scream out, what the hell's Par anyway? And then this voice comes in my head, right? And says, hi, I'm Par. What? What are you talking about? It's like, no, it's me, Par. Par? Par who? Just Par. You mean the Par from golf? Goes, well, yeah. Is there any other Par? No. And so Par begins to talk to Peter and help him realize, hey, maybe you forgot the most important thing. It's a game. You're out having fun with your friends and a beer and a dog and the nature and the exercise, right? All the beauty of golf that of course disappears when you get upset with that next shot. So the book had started, but really wasn't anywhere. I'm on this podcast. I'm excited, but then year after year after year go by. And finally it's like, I've got to finish this thing. And that was in 2023 when he had me on the show, right? And then
Okay.
it had all those things. So then it's like, all right. And it took me most of 2 years after that point, pretty heavy to finish the book. Conversations with Par,
Beat 'em
how a
all.
frustrated golfer found joy through golf. My brother drew the cover. He's a landscape architect, and so I
Oh,
always knew that I wanted him to draw the cover. So that's a beautiful addition to the story. And so then I find myself,
when you were with Eric in 2023, where were you? Where were you in the timelines of completing the book, or at what stage were you with the book?
yeah. So in 2023, I had written some in 9, 10, 11. I got excited again in 13 when he filmed me. Then that faded. I got excited again. I think in 15, 16, I wrote some. And then in 18, 19, I wrote some, but I'm still a long way from done. It's still just smattering of different ideas that might be chapters and still wasn't sure how it was going to end and all that stuff. And then in 23, I think I had been pretty dead on it for a couple of years. I don't think I'd written anything for a couple of years. It was just my fantasy. Someday I'm going to finish this darn thing. And I had hoped to finish it before my dad passed away way back in 13, 14. My dad passed in 15. I had a goal back then, and then I had more goals for 2020, but it didn't catch until it caught with the clip that they shared and me being on the thing. So I was still a ways away. And then I thought, truth be told, there, Ralph, I thought I was done a year ago now. All the chapters were done, and I'm like, okay, this thing's ready for Christmas last year. And it's like, nope. All right, just got to finish massaging it a little bit, and the massaging took almost a whole year by the time I went through it and go, oh wait, I talked about that in chapter 6, and here it is again in chapter 9. I didn't realize I doubled up on that and mix and match, and it took me a whole nother year once I thought I was done to be done, and then finally released just 2 weeks ago now on September 15, I think was the day it actually hit Amazon.
So you did this all yourself. You edited it yourself, you self-published it.
Well, no, no, self-published through Amazon, but I realized I wasn't in. I needed some help. I got a sports editor. I'm like, I can just get this out. There was a whole phase where I was just like, just get it out. It's been too long. I don't need to do it professionally. I don't need to spend any money. Just get it out and let it do what it's going to do. And then as I was finishing it, getting closer, I'm like, this is good. I probably should get some help, right? And do it right. Let's honor myself in this process and do it right. And so I I had an editor and a guy helping me put the website together, but then he changed companies and he couldn't help me anymore because of a non-compete clause. And so I'm like, okay, got to find somebody else to help me. And so I'm like, I probably should run this through an editor. And one night I remember I just looked up sports editors and I found this guy out of Chicago, David Artha, and he'd done a bunch of writing and editing, and he was a sports editor. He had written a book about Arnold Palmer, and I'm like, "There's a guy." Called him up. Sounded great. We had a nice connection, so I had him edit the book, and then he advised me to have this gal help me put it together for Amazon. And Martha Bullen out of East Coast, where was she? New York. So I called this gal. I said, David said you could help me out. She goes, sure, just charge hourly to guide you a little bit. So I'm like, great, that's what I need. But you need someone to do all the formatting and get the cover done, and not just the picture, but how you lay it out and how it goes on to Amazon and barcodes and all the fun stuff. And and so then she connected me to this gal, ironically, in Ashland, Oregon. And when she talked to her, she goes, oh, the gal I use for covers, she says she knows you. This gal, Christy, out of Ashland, that I had met 8 or 10 years ago on a project when I used to live in Ashland, Oregon, ends up being the person who does the final formatting and the cover formatting and all the details of getting it onto Amazon. And so I definitely got some help in the last 6 months of the journey to push it through.
Wow. But you got it. You got it done.
I got it done. And now this feeling is so different. I mean, the completion was amazing. Build, 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 build. Closer. I'm close. I'm close. I'm close. I'm close. I'm close. Then finally it's done. And this whole new world opens up. It's like, okay, now I can share it with everybody. Right.
Okay,
And
cool.
what does that look like? Right. And it's like, order me up some author copies and it's on Amazon. Put it out to first. I did a pre launch. What I thought was going to be a pre launch turned into my launch because I sent it out to my friends and I have a little bit of a network on Facebook and, just for my personal stuff. But I started sharing about the book and people wanted it and people bought it and Amazon noticed. And then they've got this, be on the Amazon bestseller list. And it's a fun little dance because all of a sudden, hey, you're number 20 in golf biographies and you're number 32 in sports psychology. And my little brain starts going, oh my God, people are buying this. Just my friends are buying it, but they're buying it. Right. And it's moving up the ladder here and it's on new releases. So, okay, yes, it's a new release. Oh, then it gets hot new release.
Yeah,
Then it gets up to number one new release in golf biographies.
there
I'm
you
like,
go.
okay, thank you. I'll take that. Right. Amazon helps me help them help everything. Right. And we put it together. So I ended up getting up to number one overall on sports humor
Wow.
and number one. I got into top. Did I get to top 10 in golf biographies and top 10 in golf and top 20 or something in sports psychology? You pick a few categories for your book to be in and then it's in it, right? And so I'm like, oh my God, I got what I was hoping for, right? This tag of I was for a moment a bestseller, right? It's and so I've got that little Amazon claim to fame to play with. Is that it got off to a really good start, and now I'm like, okay, now it's time to get it to the golf courses, track down some podcast folks. Thank you very much. You're actually the first formal podcast that I had since the book came out, and got a magazine article coming up in the Northern California Golf Association magazine, and it's just like, okay, let's do the promotion side of this thing now that the writing side is done. And I was explaining it to my girlfriend. I said, Holly, I said, there's a part of me that's complete now. I finished this 16-year project that is so much a part of who I am as a golfer, but also as someone who's very interested in the mysteries of golf and personal growth and human potential, and throw in a little bit of spirituality, if you will, or what's the bigger story going on here, is definitely a part of the book.
So, okay, so the book itself is a conversation with par, right? And as golfers, we have the battle with the expectations and the demons of what should be and what shouldn't be is obviously a big part of golf, right? By the same token, now you have this project coming out, this launch, and how are you going to battle the expectations? I mean, this is a labor of love, right? This is your life project, right? And so it's kind of the same, you know what I mean? It's amazing how golf can be a microcosm
It
of
is
life, right?
exactly.
So sometimes I put some content out there that I'm dearly in love with that I think this just as a cat. I was talking to a Monterey golf guy, right? I think that's how we connected. So he was saying the same thing. Sometimes you're like, "Well, what happened here?" When yeah, you'll put something else out that you think is, and it'll go viral, right? So it's hard to connect. You're hoping you connect with everybody, but at the end of the day, the accomplishment in and of itself should be rewarding, right? I'm assuming.
Yeah. Yeah, well, it's thank you for mentioning that because that's exactly what's happening still, right? And in the whole process, because here I am for years writing about my love of golf, but beating myself up for not finishing it or not putting more hours into it, and directly opposed to the message of the book, which is, come on, there's joy here that you can choose, right? And many times in the 16 years of putting the book together was I hard on myself, and many times did the mirror come showing up, right, that says, isn't this what the book is about, Peter? Right?
Right.
Isn't just enjoying the journey? Are you spending, it's like, yes, par, thank you. Right? It's
Oh,
like,
yeah, you're gonna enjoy yourself in the process. You're gonna do your little road show, knock into people. People are gonna like it. You're gonna, it's a big part of the whole, you know, getting to the finish line, right? The process. So, are you gonna have it in
the process. Can we enjoy?
are you gonna have it in audiobook?
Yep, I'll have that ready for Christmas. I look forward. I think I'm going to read both parts. And I was one of my first career was sports broadcaster, so the reading of audio I look forward to a lot. Putting that together, and yeah, I found you through your interview with Derek, the Monterey golf guy. Thanks for
Yeah.
mentioning him too, and thanks Derek for doing that post because he's become a friend of mine. I've been to a few of his tournaments and different events, and going to connect with him again next week. In fact, we live 15 miles apart here, and so I'm like, well, hey, that was a great interview, and Ralph, I like your style, and it's like let's check in with Ralph. So I just send you a note, and away we go. But you really hit it on the head there, Ralph. Just how much like golf, life is like golf. We get up there, we do the best we can, the results show themselves, and then we deal with our own internal stuff about how well did I do? How well did I do with my job, with my relationship, with my family, with any and all of it, going on a vacation. Did I do it good? Did I get a good price, right? Did I forget something and beat myself up that golf is such a microcosm for life, and it sure proved itself and is now here proving it itself again to me. It's like, oh, wow, okay, it's doing good to start. So that feels good. But what happens when that early buzz starts to fade? Who does Peter become then? Right? Because I'm promoting a book. This will be what I do for the rest of my life. Promote this book, probably have another book, putting myself out there and wondering how it's going to be, how people are going to receive it. And I don't get to know.
You again, it's enjoying the process, the journey. Yeah, 14 years, you said, 15 years of trying to get it together. You finally get it together, put it out the door. You're gonna get there's gonna be a mad rush. It may continue to be a mad rush, right? You don't know. So it's just that,
Yep.
I was having a conversation with on one of my podcasts. this gentleman who broke the course record. Right? He's coming back and he's breaks the course record. That he plays up in northern NorCal. I'm in New York. So then I told him my story. So I'm playing it. So when in the wintertime, I'm not in New York. I'm down in the Caribbean. So I live on a golf course in the Dominican Republic. So playing the home course. All of a sudden, it's two nines. It's a par 70, 72, but it's 35, 37, right? So I start on the 30 par 35 side, and I shoot a 29, right? I'm not thinking about it. You know what I mean? It's just like I'm just everything I see, I'm draining, and get past nine. The caddy says to me, "Hey, you know," he said, "What?" He says, "You're 6 under." I said, "Yeah, I wasn't thinking about that." He tells me, "You know, the course record here is." I said, "No." He says, 8 under. Right? From that moment on, it was over. No, no, way up. I just, once he told me, and the whole situation changed. It was not enjoyable. It was steering. It was pressure. I shot 743 and I wound up even par. But it's,
What a
it's,
game, huh?
had I just, kept
Yeah,
going the way I was going and not worried about what was going on, who knows what could have happened. But, the minute I started thinking about it, it's over.
yeah.
So, yeah. And I mean,
That's what, in the book, Parr says to Peter, he says, "4?" It's like, "What? What?" He goes, "4 is very important, right? It's very important. You're in danger." He goes, "I'm not in danger." He says, "Yeah, you're in danger of missing the point of playing." Right? That
right,
4 is not just watch out a ball might hit you, but watch out that you might miss the entire point of why you're playing, that there's internal personal fours as opposed to also the external, the ball might hit you, but there's more danger right there, right? Right there between the ears and what you say to yourself, how expectations show up, right? All it takes is one guy to say, you're on track for the course record and goodbye. Yeah, boy, what a
one day,
game.
just that one day, everything was, you have days like that where everything just falls into place. I mean,
Yeah, boy,
I've had
it's
other,
a wild game. It's a
I've had
wild, wild game.
a lot of other authors on. So I had Jody Vasquez, who wrote Afternoons with Mr. Hogan. So he shagged balls with Ben Hogan at Shady Oaks, and he talks about his childhood experience, and we get to know about Hogan, the side of Ben Hogan that nobody knew. And we've had a couple of Larry Bosch just wrote a biography on Tony Lima, Uncorked, the Champagne Tony Lima story. So there's quite a few.
Yep,
I get all the guys that write books from time that every seventh or eighth guy is an author, a golf author, and so we try to, yeah. And I mean, for you to put together this concept, it takes a lot of imagination and a lot of creativity, right? So it's a first person kind of narrative, but in the meantime, you have this kazoo back here. You have a great kazoo.
that's it, exactly. The Jiminy Cricket back there, right? Or the angel and the devil from, Animal House, right? Or
Exactly.
those voices in our head, and they're there for everybody, but I've never seen anybody take the time to break down and actually what's happening there and what is that voice and can I just listen to it and give it space. And I got to give credit to one of my writing mentors. I did some work with this one author who wrote a book called Conversations with God, where he was frustrated with his life and he reached out and started hearing a voice and dared to write it down. Neil Donald Walsh. It was a New York Times bestseller for many, many, many weeks and months back in the mid 90s. And so that idea of I can actually talk to these other entities, right? I can talk to myself. I can talk to God. I can talk to the trees. I can talk to golf, right? I
No,
can talk to par. I remember the moment that the title came through for me that way. It's like, what am I going to call this? Right. It's like, well, what am I doing? I don't know. I'm trying to figure out golf. I'm trying to figure out why I'm so hooked on this par thing. And it hit me conversations with par because it is a mystical character, right? That really owns in my mind. and then through my system. That was a big step for me. No, no, I think Par was messing with us here or something.
Yeah, so if I mean, besides perhaps a little humor, there's also some underlying concepts there that apply to, day-to-day golf or day-to-day life, right? You know what I mean? So we missed the point,
Yeah, absolutely. That's
more about the journey. It's more about, yeah,
absolutely.
it's yeah,
Yeah, that very human experience of I did the best I could and this is where it went, right? So who am I? How can I hold myself? How can I reframe the experience and say, okay, that's where it went. Okay, I made a mistake. Okay, I didn't get that sale. Okay, right? Whatever. I forgot to bring my passport on the trip. Whatever, right? It's like we get those. I mean, as humans, we get that every day. Something's going to show up just about every day that you wish turned out better. And that's golf, right? So, how can I hold myself? How can I be okay and build a foundation for myself that says, you know what, it's the journey. I'm going to make mistakes. I'm going to hit bad shots. Okay. What, and then, like he says in the book, Parr encourages Peter, he says, you use this line, say, right now, I'm enjoying this part of golf and see what comes out, right? Right now, I'm enjoying the thrill of a downhill putt. Right now, I'm enjoying being in a sand trap. It's fun. I don't, if he can just drop our attachment to the score and that the score equals me, right? Then I can be with, okay, it's under the tree. I get to hit that. Oh, I love hitting the driver off the deck when you can do a big old fade under some trees. And when it works out, it's beautiful, right? It's like just set yourself up for enjoyment instead of continually beating yourself up and hoping that that will bring you a better score. And this is probably the core of the book here is that Parr says to him, well, how well did you play? And he said, oh, I shot terrible today, basically. He said, no, I didn't ask you how well you scored. I asked you how well you played. Two different things. And it's like, what? No, same thing. Score equals play, right? It's like, well, then how do you know? How do you know what? Well, after 18 holes, I get to figure out whether I had a good time or not,
right.
right? And he says, oh my God, if that's not a four, right? It's like you can't go back and say, "Oh yeah, I enjoyed all these moments," because you're on pins and needles all the way waiting for the wheels to fall off of your perfect round or even of just a good round, right? And then you're constantly in that zone. So maybe you get to the end and you had a good round, but now it's too late to go back and enjoy those moments. Completely missed, right? One of the key lessons of all of life, enjoying the journey, being in the moment, being present to the fact that I'm doing this the best I can and I get to choose how I feel about that, even though the outside forces will try to tell you what you're supposed to think, right? And our culture, of course, is so results driven that it's in there. It's huge in there in our world. And so it takes some time to untangle yourself from the cultural story or whatever family story you got or whatever pressures you got from coaches or parents or siblings, wherever your pressure came from to untangle that. So it becomes a mind game. It becomes psychology and therapy and
Mhm.
spirituality. What is this? What is this that we're doing here?
Sure, and I agree with you 100%. I like to think I'm into spirituality and therapy and all that good stuff. And there's days I can go out there and not score well, but I'm hitting the iron, I'm compressing the ball well, and just the score is just not adding up. I'm missing plus. I mean, yeah, yeah, I can take some positive out of there and say, yeah, I don't care what I scored, but I'm hitting the ball fairly well, and it's just not, and like, just like that situation where I was making everything right. I don't know how well I was hitting the ball, but everything was dropping and the score added up. I didn't feel particularly different that day. Just that it came out to a lower number. You know?
Yeah,
Mhm.
it's a wild game. And when you dare to slow down enough, when I dared to slow down enough to break it down for myself, it really it's magical what it can do inside your system because it is life cleverly disguised as chasing this little rock around a field, right? And who do I be? How do I I be with my surroundings, and how do I be with myself and the larger story of nature and friends and competition? All of it weaves into the dance, and here we are being right. Golf is moving through us. Another wonderful line I love in my book. It's like golf is playing me, right? At the same time that I'm playing this game of golf, golf is experiencing itself through Peter, whether it's frustrated or happy or joyous or sad or all of it, right? That's where it really ties into spirituality for me, is that life is experiencing itself the Peter Melton way, and golf is experiencing itself the Peter Melton way. Just like, and it's the only place that life and golf can see it this way, right? And same with there. Life is moving through Ralph Perez, and it gets to experience the Ralph Perez story. And I think that life is just thrilled to get to see and experience all these different lives. And I think that's what life is. I think that's what spirituality is on a deeper level, is life, God, if you will, or whatever you like to call the greater story, right? The source energy is experiencing every possible possibility. And I'm the only way it can see it the Peter way. You're the only way it can see it the Ralph way. And each of you out there, you're the gift to life as life gets to see itself in the mirror we call you. Right.
Oh,
And so it starts.
all right. Well, Peter, um, so we're gonna link uh your book. It's on Amazon, and if there's on any other outlets, please let me know. And I'm an audio guy nowadays. I mean, I've read a lot of books, obviously, but I just I just use my Audible for long drives, and that's where I get and I'm just saying your book seems like a perfect, and you have the perfect voice, and you know the characters well.
I know the characters pretty well.
An audio book would be the perfect, segue from into your next phase of your project. So,
Yeah, I'm very, very excited for that process, which will be starting soon here. And also, I'll tell your listeners on my website, petermeltongolf.com, the first 4 chapters of the book are on the website. So you can get a flavor of what we're talking about here before you have to decide if you want to pay $18 for a book. But
sound like a large,
it's been a lot of fun.
sound like a large investment.
Right.
most of the
It's
w-
pretty.
most of the good golf mental books usually written in that format. I think it's going to be a hit.
Yeah.
Take it from
Thank you. I appreciate your support and all of you listeners. It's beautiful to have this next layer of completion, to get to share it, put it out in the world. I've already got some great stories of people having read it and connected with the message, and reconnecting with an old friend who was a golf on my golf team 41 years ago in junior college. Haven't talked to him in 41 years, and he looks me up and he's like, "Oh my God, this is my story. Played a lot young, stop playing, stop scoring, total frustration." And so it's been a beautiful journey, and I appreciate having the chance to be on your show here.
Well, it's been a pleasure, and I really enjoyed listening to the whole your whole story combined with our third person up there. It was really great. Here, we're gonna sign off here, and thank you for stopping by.
Watch out.